Hello, it's Mike with Spray Jones, and I'm going to go over doing retrofit to metal shops, metal buildings. Here recently, we finished up a Quonset building that's all metal construction, and I thought I'd just quickly take you through it and give you some of the pointers that we do and what we look out for. This isn't going to be an exhaustive how-to. Usually on metal buildings, you're on a retrofit. And what I mean by retrofit is that the building was constructed and the owners have used it for a number of years and they never had an intention of having it insulated. If the building is being built and they are hiring you to put spray foam insulation on, then there's a number of things that you need to consider, and the building needs to have termination points for where the spray foam is going to be, and mainly that is the doors. So your overhead doors and your personnel doors need to have hard fixed terminations around the frames, because your spray foam insulation is going to be built on the surface of the metal inside. And since it's not wood frame construction and there's not a rough opening for the door, it's a metal frame construction, you're going to need to have something to stop the foam from going towards the edge and bring the edge out. So we've got a number of ways of doing that, and that's something that you need to consider. So you have to build stops around your overhead doors, you have to build stops around your personnel doors, and any other areas such as the overhead door openers. The other thing that you're going to need to do on a retrofit is make sure that the electrical items are off the wall. So if they've gone and put switches and plugs and those things are just screwed to the wall, well, they're going to be a real problem. If you put spray foam around them, there's no spray foam behind it. So an electrical outlet, for instance, will get frosty in very cold climates, and it'll be a problem. And then you'll have water and you'll have condensation in the electrical outlet. So that's a big no-no. So electrical items that are hard fixed to the outside of the building, to the outside walls, need to be removed off. They have to be spaced off. Now, most people are smart this way, and they will mount electrical and conduiting and cabling on some sort of a track system so that you can get the spray foam behind it, but that's not always the case. So you have to watch for that. And you have to make sure that you can get the spray foam behind everything. Washing down the building. The building has been sitting for a while. It's got grease, it's got dirt, it's got sediment of some sort. Now, if it is clean and not bad, you can go over top of it. You can take your chances and go over it. But if it has been sitting for a very long time, especially with soot from buses and tractors and machinery equipment and stuff like that that's been in a large building, you're going to have to watch it, because that film gets on the inside of the metal and it doesn't look like much, but it can disbond your foam. So a lot of times that means power wash, where you're going to come in, you're going to use some pressure washer, and you're going to use something like a trisodium phosphate in the water, get the building washed down completely. If it is galvanized or a Galvalume type product, galvanizing especially with the zinc, you have got to prime. Do not scrimp on doing a primer. I had a guy one time phone me up. He was getting 3 or 4 different prices, and all of the other spray foam companies said that they did not need a primer on a galvanized building. And I said to the guy, you're absolutely flat out wrong. I don't know what to tell you. Zinc absolutely needs to be primed. And I mean, on that job, it was like $1,500. And we ended up not getting the job. He ended up believing the other guys. And frankly, I'm in some ways hoping that the foam didn't stick very well for them. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but you got to move on sometimes. Painted steel is good. Painted steel means the metal has been washed down, it's received a primer coat or paint coat, and as long as you don't have any grease or buildup on it or dust, then you're good to go. When you get into cooler weather, springtime, fall, you have got to watch your metal building for condensation. Nighttime gets cool, goes down to 3, 4, 5 degrees above zero, and then daytime, the sun comes up, starts to warm the building up. You're going to have a little bit of moisture. One time I had a metal building that I was doing, and you could hardly see the moisture film. You had to run your fingers across the metal, and then your fingertips were wet. But to sight, you actually could not see it. And we would start spraying along, and everything would be going great, and then you'd hit this patch along the roof that had the condensation, and just boom, the foam would just peel right off the roof just crazy. It was easy. It was just freaking me out at the first time that I saw it. But I realized very quickly, whoa, there is a very thin film of moisture. In that situation, the building wasn't being heated. So what we ended up having to do was just wait until the sun came out and it was a sunny day, and warm things up and burn that moisture off. So if you're going to be in cold weather climate, more than likely you're going to have to heat the building, and warm the building up. If you do this, your yield on your foam is going to be much, much better. If you are into cold weather climate, like April, May, depending on where you are in the US or Canada, it can be warm out. But if the building is cool, you can take a hit of a minimum of 10% on your spray foam usage, and sometimes as high as 20%. So you just really need to be careful on watching that you're going to be getting a good yield on the foam. And the fastest way is it's better to go through a couple $100 worth of diesel fuel on heating the building up than $100 to $1,000 extra on foam. You've got to watch the tight areas. You've got to watch if there's an electrical panel, if there's duct work, if there's going to be heaters hanging, metal buildings that are 100% metal pre-engineered. You're going to have to put some support structures into the building to allow for them to hang cabinets or do workbenches or put a hoist in or something like that. So all of that planning has got to be done ahead of time. You got to make sure you get the spray foam behind it. Once the spray foam has been placed in, then you're going to have to be putting some sort of protective coating on. Now, if they're not doing metal framing such as this, or wood framing such as this building, then you're going to need to go with something that allows you to do a paint-on product. So you can do a flame spread coating, which would be an acrylic elastomeric, which will give ignition and flame spread protection, or you can go with a full-blown intumescent fireproofing. Check your area for what is going to be legal and necessary. If you're just on a farm building or out in the country somewhere, an intumescent doesn't need to always be the one you go with. You can go with an acrylic elastomeric, something that the owner can pressure wash and clean over time. But if you're inside certain jurisdictions where the building code and the fire marshals and everything, then you're going to need to go with something more expensive. There's no point in messaging me and asking me what we used on this one, because every single jurisdiction is different. You're going to have to check your areas. There's a whole host of products out on the internet now. Do your research, do your homework. Check with your local authorities to see what is going to be approved and what you want to put on. But you need to put some sort of a top coat over top of the foam to protect it from ultraviolet and to protect it from fire and protect you from liability. And frankly, I think it makes the job look a whole lot better. So these jobs can be done well. Get them heated up, get them primed, and the foam will go on, and you can not have issues, and it'll stick and turn these buildings into a great useful structure. One closing thought is that the money that they spend on the foam is a lot of times a lot cheaper than building a whole new building. So they can take an existing building that they set up 30 years ago and for $10, $20, or $30,000 get it spray foamed and coated, and they've got a fully functional warm shop, and they can't even begin to build a building for that much that would be arriving to them pre-insulated. So it's a really good way to go. If you like this content, click the subscribe buttons, click the like, share this with somebody else, and we'll see you on the next one.